people's energy levels were not that low compared to
Mm.
now. I think now it's mainly due to the fact that they work from home,
Sure.
they're alone, mental health, and just even as a business person or an entrepreneur, mentally they get drained.
Mm.
What was some of you did mention about journaling? That's just to kind of understand you,
Sure.
but what are some of your tips to elevate your energy levels
Mm.
as a entrepreneur or a person who's working a 9 to 5?
First of all, the reason a lot of people lost energy and felt drained and exhausted during the COVID pandemic is we spend too much time focused on things we cannot control.
Mm.
So I had friends of mine who never watched the news, suddenly were hooked on the news to see what was going on with the COVID updates. Is the economy going to open again? And so they were so caught up in that whatever they were actually wanting to do just hit the rocks. They didn't make progress. And there's lessons from that we can take for all of our lives. Is that when we spend too much time focusing on things we cannot control, we get paralyzed by overthinking and
Yes.
inaction. But when we focus on the things we can control, and of course, there were also success stories through the COVID pandemic, but when you focus on the things that you can control, you not only feel more energized, but you feel empowered to take action.
Yes.
And there is always something that we can take, no matter how small, there's always some piece of action that is under our control that we can take. So I think that's one of the big lessons from the COVID pandemic that we can take away, is that there will be things you cannot control, there will be things that you can. Which of the things are you spending most of your time doing? The second is understanding that when you put your diary together, many of us will click yes to that work meeting that comes in with a calendar invite. We will click yes to that social event invite, and we will spend time booking our diary for holidays. But how often do you actually block out time in your diary for me time?
Mm.
How quickly are we to book that time out? And if you don't book that time out, what happens is that other people will take away that time from you. And so an easy thing that we can all do is to look at your calendar for the next month and look at periods of your week that you can just block out for you. Just you. You can do whatever you want, but you have space to explore your passions, your hobbies, your interests. The reason we say we don't have time is because we cram our diaries.
Yep.
The fact is, time is never an issue. It is always an energetic issue or a priority issue. I'll give an example. A lot of people say, I don't have time to do something. Now, if they suddenly hear a new Netflix TV series has been launched and it's the must watch, everybody's watching it and everybody's talking about it, suddenly they'll find time to watch it. Because now they've been energized by the fact that everybody's talking about it. They don't want to be left out. And now it's become a priority. So the fact is, time is never an issue. It's how are you putting together a routine and a plan so that you can focus on you. You have to focus on you at some point. You're doing it for other people, whether it's your boss, your company. But when was the last time you focused just on you?
That's really kind of deep for
Mm.
people to think of, because I don't think anyone ever puts me time. It's a day of going work, coming back from work, spend time with family, watch Netflix, sleep. There is never that me time, not even 10 minutes of the day. And
Yeah.
that's really important for people to understand.
And it's so important because, you can collect all the dots you want. But if you don't give yourself the space to connect those dots, none of those dots will matter. If you look in history, the most creative breakthroughs occur when you disconnect and you just spend time being.
Yes.
And there's a difference between doing and being. We spend a lot of time doing, but not enough time being. And so if you look at some of these anecdotes like Isaac Newton, apple falls on his head, gravity. Archimedes lying in the bathtub, eureka.
Yeah.
He discovers displacement theory. Or Thomas Edison fishing with no bait, so no one, not even the fish, would disturb him. Now, I don't know if these anecdotes are true, but I think there is a lot of wisdom in the fact that they got those breakthroughs when they had me time, when they disconnected, when they allowed their mind to connect the dots they had collected. So that is why me time is important, not just for your health, but also if we want to access that creative energy inside of us all.
I think there's a book called The Psychology of Money or something, where they mentioned about a guy who just went far away in like forest and just by himself, and that's where he got all the information and kind of knowledge he acquired. And then he came out and done something, which I don't even remember properly. But that's really interesting. Do you think it's possible to have a work-life balance?
For me, when I think about, I don't see it as a work-life balance, actually. I think that, and the reason why is that if you love what you do, if it is who you are, then you don't see it as work. You know, if you look at the likes of, you know, the names of like Richard Branson, Steve Jobs and the like, it looks like they're having fun and they're working all the time as well. But that's because they don't have a distinction. You know, what they do, being an entrepreneur, is who they are. So for me, I think it is less about having a work-life balance. For me, it is having a balance when it comes to energy. And here's why, because we all have different energetic rhythms. So you might say, I'm a morning person. Someone else might say, I'm a night owl. I do my best work at night. Now, if we understand our energetic patterns, at what periods of the day do I have higher levels of energy? At what periods do I have lower levels of energy? Then we can build our routines around that. So once we build our routines around it, we bring better energetic balance into our days and weeks. So that for me is much more important than work-life balance, because I could be working 5 hours straight on something but not feel exhausted if it's something I really enjoy.
Yeah.
I'll give an example. Towards the launch of my book, the publication, every single day, I had never worked as hard as I did, but I was never exhausted because I was so pumped for the book coming out into the world that I was calling book clubs. I was reaching out to people for endorsements. I was being interviewed on podcasts. I was just so energized. And so for me, it is much more to do with energetic balance. So if I know ahead of time that I'm going to have to commit a lot to PR and media related activities to promote the book, I'm going to clear my diary. I'm going to clear my diary for 2 months before the book launch so I can focus on the things that are going to energize me. So for me, it's much more about understanding, do I have a balance that allows me to stay as energized as possible? Not necessarily seeing it as a work-life balance. Yeah. Because for those who really love what they do, they probably won't see it as a work-life balance.
It's just life, and it's just fun for them as well.
Because work is life. Work is part of life.
That's really true. And I like how, I think this key takeaway for me right now is that I always separated work and life, but I think it's just one. Why not just make it one? And I love the part where you spoke about energy levels. And it's important to know when you feel the most energy